Namaste. Welcome. How
No nasty. Yes. Anyway.
Well, namaste, Troy. Welcome to Pros Talking Prose. We are going to be discussing some pretty interesting things. This is Troy Lambert, and I am Stacey Smokowski, and we are two book nerds that just absolutely love talking craft and business. And when you come to our channel, you're going to hear any and all things author related because we just kind of fly off the handle sometimes and go off the rails about anything that we want to talk about. So today in particular, we thought it would be a good idea to talk to you guys about the way authors are kind of targeted for solicitations, maybe around the time that they're publishing or post publishing, and how to avoid scams that are going to come your way. And I'm not going to say that may come your way because they are going to come your way. I mean, I don't think I've met
Mhm.
one author yet that has not yet been solicited in some way or another once
Mhm.
your information is out there. So we're going to kind of go through
Yeah, for
that.
sure.
And yeah, Troy, of course, has firsthand experience with this. I have some firsthand, secondhand experience with this with all my clients and the wormholes I've gone down to try to track down whether or not people are legitimate or not. But we can talk about some of those stories as well. But one of the things I wanted to tackle first and foremost is helping authors understand um kind of like the source of the problem, like how their information gets targeted so that they can understand and know that one, it's not your fault, but two, how to kind of protect yourself as well. So let's first, I mean, first and foremost, I want to talk about one of my favorite scams. I mean, this is really, and Troy, I know you've gotten this one because every author has got,
Mhm.
like, it was really popular last year in 2024. Like this one was a huge one. But I have a really great author who wrote a fabulous book, and it was really just a fun, fast, one of those airport reads, right? Crime
Yeah.
thriller, fun book. It was like his seventh or eighth book. So he's an experienced writer and knows how to get the story out there, and he's really good at it. So it was just really fun to edit that one, right? We got it done, and it wasn't a couple months later that he got a really fabulously polished letter from a company that looked like it was coming from one of the really popular movie studios in Hollywood. And it looked very legitimate. And it said, "We have been following you for some time. This latest book that you published is really great. We would love to make this into a short Netflix miniseries. Um, are you interested? If so, please give us a call." And of course, he like lit up like a Christmas tree. Like, wow, what? I finally
Yeah.
hit it big.
Amazing.
Amazing. No, he doesn't have an agent. No, he didn't pitch this to the studio. They just reached out to him cold turkey. So I immediately, of course, also, and furthermore, because I edited the thing, went, "Oh my gosh, this is so exciting." So then I go down. So
Oh.
I go down the rabbit hole, of course, to make sure that this is all legitimate. And of course, it wasn't. The guy's name was being hijacked by a guy in Canada, and it was like a well circulated scam that had just
Mhm.
like really gone its course, and we were like on the tail end of this thing. So anyway, it was not legitimate. We both kind of like our balloons were deflated, and we kind of took ourselves sheepishly back to our caves. But it's one of those things where these scammers really know how to appeal to the ego and to the hopes and dreams of authors.
Mhm.
So Troy, what do you have a favorite little scam that you kind of like almost
Oh
went for, or
man.
maybe that you like got?
Well, so I love the movie ones because
Yeah.
they have gotten very polished because some of the other ones that you'll encounter that we'll talk about are not nearly as polished. And what I will tell you is when they're not nearly as polished, that is on purpose.
Right.
Because if you notice the misspellings and you notice that it doesn't come from a legitimate email address and stuff like that, you are not their target. What they immediately does is that weeds out the 90% of people that are not going to fall for the scam because we notice the things that are wrong with the email. We notice the things that are wrong with the email address and we go, aha, scam. Same thing with banking scams. Okay. Your bank will not email you and ask you for personal information. They know who you are. If they've given you credit, especially, they know exactly who you are. Hey, the last time you went to the grocery store and used your card, they don't need to call you to find out information from you. They have it. Okay. Anyway,
Hmm.
so there's that. But the movie scams have become extremely polished, and
Right.
here's a part of the reason why is AI. So we all like to use AI for our businesses, to create a book blurb or whatever. So one of the first things we used to do is when you get a movie scam thing, you say, really, what part of the book did you like best?
Mm, yeah.
Because they haven't read your book. They
Hmm.
found your name on Amazon. They searched the internet, found your email address, and created this beautifully polished email that says, yes, we're interested in talking to you, but they haven't read your manuscript. So you say, really, what was your favorite part? And there inevitably there is no answer. Like what part of this book made you think it would make a great movie? Just start asking questions, right? Immediately
Hmm.
you understand they didn't read my book. They don't know anything about it. So it's not real. But now with AI, they can get a summary of your book very
Mm,
quickly, as long as they have a file
yeah.
of it. And then they can tell you, oh, this part on chapter 6 is a very simple cinematic scene. And you go, oh, they did read my book. That sounds fantastic. They did not. 90% of the time, they did not. Because what they're going for is the 1 in 10,000 win.
Right.
If they email 10,000 authors, only one of you has to fall for the scheme for them to make their money back.
Right.
Like, and then some, right? Because the first thing that you're going to call them and they're going to say, well, we can get this in front of our development person or whatever for this much money. And that's not how
Mm,
movie studios work. Okay, it's
right.
not how any
Right.
of this system works. But as a new author, you're very enthusiastic. I want to get a movie made of my movie. My family would find and
Or
be proud of
yeah,
me.
Netflix
And you
series
know,
or yeah. Yeah.
Netflix series, my family, and with all the little studios around, sometimes it's hard to know what's real. I mean, really, if you're a small studio looking for content from writers, it'd be one of the hardest times in the world for you to exist because we don't believe you. Um, you're going to have to convince us that you're really telling
Yeah.
the truth. But so that's one of my favorites because I had one that I almost thought was legit. It sounded like a legit studio. It sounded like a legit name.
Hmm.
They had an address in LA. They had a
Yep.
phone number in
Yep.
LA, the
That's
whole
yeah,
deal.
this was this one.
But when I went and looked, the company name was a variation,
Mm,
very slight variation, but a variation of an actual studio name. Basically, because then they can't be accused of fraud because they're not
right.
actually impersonating that studio. They're
Hmm.
saying they're legit, and maybe they are even registered in California. I didn't go that far and check, but
Mm.
I looked at the address where they are, and then I looked up that building in LA and went, there's no company by that name in that building, right? So they don't actually have a physical office in that building. But some of them have gone to the trouble of actually renting a physical office
Yeah.
space in a
Or
building.
getting
Now
a
it's
PO
empty.
box or yeah.
If you
Hmm.
actually went there, it's empty, but they've got
Hmm.
an actual business registered at that address. These people will go to great lengths to fool you. So the movie ones have become very, very sophisticated. And because authors hang their hopes now on, oh, because obscurity, our real enemy is obscurity,
Obscurity.
right?
Hmm.
The
Not
fact that
yeah,
nobody's ever heard of
anonymity.
you. So
Hmm.
that's what your marketing game is for, really, is to get out of the obscurity and get noticed. And a
Hmm.
movie deal is a sure way, or a Netflix series is a sure way to have that happen.
Right.
Inevitably, something like that gets made, your book sales go up, right? So
Right.
we're all looking for this magic bullet thing, and they know it, so they're presenting it to you. So your number one is one of my favorites too, because it's so slick and
Yeah.
so appealing to authors that sometimes by the time you get down the road, you don't even realize you've been scammed. Or like, well, we'll get this person, this famous screenwriter, and they'll write the screenplay for your movie and that for your book to a
Yeah.
movie, and they'll write the adaptation, and that'll sure give you a shot into the studios. And you're like, oh, yes, I'm totally behind that. honestly, if you want a script written by someone who's well known or who's a good script writer or whatever, just go directly to that person and pay them.
Mm-hmm.
And then shop it to studios the appropriate way. Don't
Right.
let someone con you into, if you do it through our company, we have all these connections and we'll get you in front
We'll
of the
get you a
right people.
screenwriter. Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't even matter if you get in front of the right people if it's the wrong timing. There's so many factors that go into it. So anyway, it's like getting struck by lightning. So those
Mm-hmm.
companies will not reach out to you. They're getting hundreds of manuscripts sent to them every single day. And so they don't need to go out and look for new manuscripts and new stories. They've got hundreds of them coming through the door for them to choose from, coming through legitimate sources. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, one of my favorites too, because it's just become so slick. The other ones
It's
are not
so
nearly as
slick.
slick. They're just
Yeah.
they're just not as professional. I'm like, if you're gonna be a criminal, be good. Be good at it, you know.
Be good at
Take
it.
some pride in your job,
Do some
you know,
research.
do some research, work on it. Work on it,
Oh,
you know.
okay.
But yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
yeah. So, well, the source of the problem, let's talk about that. Like how authors are even targeted, how people even know. I had a client reach out to me just last week. She hasn't yet even published her book yet. She and I are working with her illustrator right now, and it's a children's book, but she had already been reached out to by a publisher that said that they wanted to publish her book. And she's like, how are they even getting my information? And the reason is that they got it through the copyright office. So, because she'd filed her
mhm.
copyright. So, um, just understand that your information, while we like to believe it's private through a lot of these entities that we utilize when we
Yeah.
when we're publishing, they're not. So there's, you've got your public book listings like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Ingram Spark, all of those guys, your information is in their system, and that is easily accessible because of the way those systems are set up. Your ISBN registration is nearly transparent. So a lot of times what
Mhm.
I do with my clients is recommend that they set themselves up as like an imprint company, set up their business account, set up their business entity as their author business, because I didn't used to do this. I used to say that it was no point, but now I do. I recommend that all my authors set up an LLC. They protect themselves as an imprint, because it will protect that public access. Author websites, when you an author website, you're going to have your your information, your personal information, your emails and all that. That's all linked to your website, and it's easily discovered by people who know where to look for that. When you submit
Mhm.
your name to contests, sometimes you're thinking, okay, I want to get a book award, and you'll submit it. And if you're not submitting to a legitimate book award company or a company that's all on the up and up, sometimes that contact information is going to be sold off to third parties. And then vanity publishers are the worst. They'll resell their author information like mad. So,
Mhm.
those small presses, they're not really all. There's a lot of reasons why these small presses are not always the best option, but this is probably one of them, is that they'll sell off your information to other companies. So,
Yeah.
just keep that in mind when like, it's not that you're necessarily doing anything wrong, because you're
Oh
really not.
no.
It's not like you're going out there and going on the internet and saying, here's my birthday and social security number, but just like this information does get out there. So your email
Well,
addresses and things like that, they're just going to be found out.
the problem with it is that you as an author, whether you want to be or not, this is one of the things we talk about when building your author platform, and it's important, is you become a public figure.
Right.
Now, the extent of being a public figure
It's very, very
is
small.
part of what matters. For most people, it's very, very small, right?
Hmm.
But you are to a certain extent a public figure. Now, authors are not rock stars, so don't worry about that. You're gonna not be able to go to the grocery store
Yeah,
and people
you're
will
not going to be
recognize
followed
you.
by the
That
paparazzi.
that rarely happens to me in my hometown, and I've been doing this for years, right? Like, so I don't get recognized at the grocery store. And I mean, I get recognized by other authors because I do author education, right? But
Right.
I don't get recognized by some reader who says, "Oh yeah, you wrote that book." Now, sometimes if you talk to them, like, if you read anything by Troy Lambert, they'll know that. or they'll know one of my titles, but they don't know me. They
Right.
don't know my face. My author picture is not that they're like, oh my God, it's you. That's not
I
the
I
reaction that you get as
I
an
kind
author
of doubt
most
that
of the time.
even when like Dean Koontz, Stephen King, even Brad Thor, some of these like John Grisham,
Stephen King,
I
he does
he'll get
because he does
recognized,
cameos. He
but
does
but
cameos in his movies.
yeah, but
So
really, I think if somebody saw him at the grocery store, unless I honestly feel like he still probably has a degree of anonymity.
he's had a
Like,
certain amount of anonymity. I always tell
right.
people for most people, if R.L. Stein rocked behind me in a Zoom meeting like this, you'd be like, "What is Troy's dad doing in the back of the Zoom meeting?" You'd be
Right.
like, "Dude, old guy wandered in, right?" You'd have
Yeah.
no idea. That's fine, that's great. But the problem is your name and email is very easy to find because here's
Hmm.
how easy it is. I look up your name. I go to your LinkedIn profile. I use a website scraper that's really easy to use, and I find the email address that you registered with LinkedIn, and boom, I've got your email address information. I know about your books because I can find those on Amazon easily. I
Hmm.
can even have an alert set up whenever new books by a certain person appear on Amazon, right? So your book appears on Amazon, the company gets an alert, they already have your name, they already have your email address, and they send you an email. It's really, really easy because you deliberately want to be found. As we said, obscurity is our enemy, right? So we think getting a big movie deal, that'd be great. Yes, awesome. But because you are no longer desiring of being obscure, keeping your information private is an
Hmm.
entirely different thing. So if you have a pen name, the likelihood is that at some point someone will find out what your real name is.
Right. Right.
So a lot of people now are just very transparent about that. They're like, yes, I'm Troy Lambert, and I also write as, and they'll just list
Hmm.
their pen names because why not? People are going to find out anyway. The only reason to have them really at this point is a marketing
It's
is on the
branding.
marketing side of
Hmm.
things,
Right.
right? But your information is going to be out there, and that's great. You want it to be because you want people to find you,
Right.
right? But you don't
Exactly.
want people to find you in that way. Well, you don't get to pick and choose, right? People are the same way readers find you, scammers are going to find you too. The key is you being aware, first of all, that there are scammers who are going to reach out to you, which is usually the first red flag.
Right.
If they're reaching out to you directly, is usually the first red flag. Every now and then you will get an agent or a legitimate person who reaches out to you as an author. That is not normal. And if you're new and have one or two books, it is extremely unlikely that that
Right.
will happen unless you're doing extremely well with your sales, right? It's just extremely unlikely. So if they're reaching out to you, it's already a little bit of a red flag. But your information is out there. You're not doing anything wrong. You don't need to switch browsers to Brave and
Yeah.
not use Gmail anymore and
Right.
never contact because I mean, and any author can tell you that you're going to get contacted. I
Yeah.
mean, you just are. And
You
some of
just
that's good, some of it's bad, but it's just going to happen.
it's
So
just going to
just
happen.
relax,
Don't be afraid of
relax.
it. Just be aware of what to look for. So just so you know
Hmm.
what scammers are looking for. Troy kind of touched on this a little bit. They're looking for the naive, right? They're looking for the people who
Hmm.
aren't going to see the red flags, or are going to be completely, rose colored glasses, not gonna want to see the red flags. But just
Hmm.
FYI, what they're looking for is they're looking for recently published or soon to publish edit authors, because they know that those are the authors that are looking for information or help to make sure that they get, again, noticed and or get their book published, right? They're looking for authors who are identifying as new authors on platforms like Instagram or Ingram Spark, or not Ingram Spark, but like
Hmm.
on Instagram, or like on
TikTok.
TikTok,
TikTok's the common
Facebook.
one now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you say I'm a new author, or I'm an up and comer, like, of course people are going to be like, oh yeah, they're looking for those fun like deals. And
Hmm.
then authors that have emotional investments in their book, that they're personally, and this is every author I know, so I know you're out there,
Hmm.
every author that's personally invested in their project and probably has limited industry knowledge, or they're like a newbie to the industry, because
Hmm.
they're more likely to be taken down that road, because they don't know better. So understand and know that you're going to be targeted the newer you are in this business, and you're going to be less likely to pick up on those red flags unless you have kind of a network of professionals that can help you identify some of these things. And Troy and I know we do this with our clients, but anytime a client is reached out to by anybody, I always ask them to tell me or ask me to, check them out if they're not sure, because it allows me to see what kind of like tactics are being used so that I can warn my clients.
Yeah, what's happening? What's
Yeah,
the
like
latest trend?
what's the latest trend that's being used to kind of target my clients and make sure that they try to, target them and try to steal their money. So, yeah, just know and understand that it's okay. And like Troy said, be calm. But there are some red flags that you, as a new author, can be aware of. Okay. One of
Mhm.
them, like Troy said, is if they're reaching out to you, like,
Yeah.
people are very, very, very busy. I don't even advertise. I try every once in a while. I'm like, oh, I should, like, I don't know, maybe expand my outreach. But I'm so busy that sometimes that the reason I don't is because it takes up time and it takes time away from my clients, which I already have a full calendar. So it doesn't take much for me to like fill up my
Hmm.
calendar. So I'm not going to go outreaching. I'm not going to go out in Instagram, and I'm not going to go look for authors that are looking for book coaches. I don't go looking for book coach, things like that. If somebody wants to contact me, they can reach out and contact me. I'm not
Hmm.
interested. It's the same way in the movie industry. It's the same way in the publishing industry. There are 4 million new books published every year, guys. 4 million.
Hmm.
So you don't think that publishers are busy? They're busy. They don't,
Well, and I
yeah,
mean, let me just tell you from the acquisitions editor side, there would be times when I would have 40 manuscripts to evaluate, along with a full editing workload each week.
right.
Which is why when we talk about acquisitions, I talk about how little time you have to actually grab my attention
Grab
as an
the
acquisitions
attention.
editor,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have a page, maybe two, to really wow me. And if you don't, I mean, you may have the greatest book ever, but I will never know, right? Because I just will never know. But what that means is, as an acquisitions editor, I was never sending out an email to authors who were working on their manuscript and saying, hey, when you get that done, I'd really like to see it. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want more manuscripts on my desk. I wanted less,
Right.
right? So understand, especially on the publishing, like the agent side, how many times have you been to a pitch fest at a conference and an agent has a line of people that are stood up there, like reading their pitch, right? And pitching their book to them? How many times have you seen an agent sitting there with nothing to do and saying, hey, I know you guys over in her line, you can come over here and talk to me. No, that doesn't happen. Every agent is swamped. So they're not, for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're selling tens of thousands of copies and you're pretty much a sure bet, and they know that they can take your book and do other things with it that you're not going to be able to do as a self-published author, an agent is not reaching out to you. They may be scanning the Amazon bestseller lists and looking for people,
Yep.
but they're not looking for the people who are saying on Facebook, I'm 70% done with my book and I've almost got it. I'm about to
Yep.
write the end. Your agent is not going, oh my God, I can't wait to see what this person. No, that's not happening. So just understand, like, especially in that realm, the film and the agent and the publisher realm, if the publisher is reaching out to you, it's an immediate red flag. Unless you've had some spectacular sales, it's an immediate red flag. This is probably not legit. Now, I don't tell you not to check things out because lightning does strike, and I don't
Yeah.
want you to miss a
And
lightning
there are
strike because you go,
unicorns.
lightning
Mm-hmm.
isn't real.
Yeah, no.
No, the lightning is real. It does strike people. It's
Yep.
just not extremely a frequent occurrence, right?
Right.
So I don't say don't check it out, but I say immediately, that's an immediate way to use immediate caution and be like, hmm, this is unlikely for this to be true. They're just really busy people. I
Yeah.
mean, it just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. But anyway.
Some other keywords that are going to be used and that I would say really kind of hit the heartstrings a little bit because this is something that it's hitting those pain points that we all have as authors. Guaranteed bestseller. Can
Mm,
guarantee we'll pitch your book to Netflix, Hallmark, HBO, Barnes and Noble. We're gonna pitch your book for you to all these big names. Award-winning marketing system. Um,
mhm,
we've targeted your book for inclusion in this X series. Like this is
mhm.
it's gonna cost you this much money, but if you're interested, like we can put you in this series.
Yeah.
Um, there's only 10 authors selected, and you are one of the 10, you know, weekly.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah, exactly. The
like
10 today
10
on
today
Tuesday.
on
Yeah, I
Tuesday.
mean, oh,
So yeah, there's just there's keywords like if you are hearing guaranteed in anything, that is my number
hmm
one. No, I don't guarantee anything in my work ever. I don't even guarantee the date we're going to publish, even though it is, if today was July, today's July 11th. If on this day you and I are hitting publish on your book, I'm still not guaranteeing that the book is live today. Like I'm not doing
because you
that.
can't.
I
Yeah.
can't. So you
Well,
guys have to understand that there's just no guarantees in this business at all. So
hmm
that's as big of a red flag for me as Troy's red flag of getting reached out to. Like it's just
hmm the
no.
words that they use. Also, there are other scams that are really common, and these are the ones where they say it's about marketing your books. They're like, we will get
Mm-hmm.
your book in front of this many fans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem with that is they have a ton of Instagram or Facebook followers or whatever the case may be, right?
Right.
So you look at their Facebook page and they have those numbers, but those numbers are not real. And also, you have to understand that without advertising, the amount of those people who will actually see that post is very low because the way Facebook is a pay to play game anymore, all that kind of stuff. And no one is going to run Facebook ads to your book for you
Nope.
that are going to be super effective. Okay.
Nope.
Unless you hire a company to do that for you. And that's a whole other thing. Okay. And every one of those companies will tell you if they're legitimate that the more you pay them to run your ads for you, the lower your ROI
Right.
because you're paying them plus paying for the ad
You'll pay,
spend,
yeah, you'll
right?
pay the ad spend
So
too. Mm-hmm.
you're still paying you're paying double instead of doing the ads yourself. Now, if you don't know how to do ads at all and you still think that'll get you some traction, that is absolutely a fine way to go, but just understand what you're doing going into. But these companies will tell you, well, for $30, we'll put you as our book of the day in front of these 10 thousands of fans. They will, but it won't get you any sales. It's absolutely that they just are throwing your book at. Now, it used to be years ago that that actually worked, but that was 2009, 2011, right? It doesn't work anymore. But you as an author are constantly looking for the magic bullet to get your book in front of more people. Now, there are legitimate marketing services and legitimate things, but even things like BookBub deals don't work as well as they once did.
Right.
So you have to understand that's not a scam, but it's also something to just be aware of like some marketing that worked even in recent history doesn't work as well anymore, right?
Right.
So you have to be cautious, but the ones that are like it sounds too good to be true, $10 and you can be in front of all these people, guess what, if it sounds too good to be true,
It
it
probably is.
probably is. And
Mm-hmm.
$10 may not seem like that big of a deal, but it adds up really fast. And also, the more you allow companies like that to take your money, the more they're likely to take other authors' money as well. So you're
Exactly.
just contributing to their pot and keeping them going as a
Right.
company, when really It's just a scam. It's not doing anything for your book. And again, these are companies that outreach to you. I guarantee BookBub does not ever reach out to an
Oh my
author and
gosh,
say,
never.
would you like a BookBub deal? No, you have to apply for them over and over and over again in order to even get one.
Right.
And like I say, now those are not as profitable as they once were,
Right.
right? And there's all kinds of other things like that as well, but they never outreach you. Like e-reader news today, their ebook, their book of the day thing. You have
Yeah,
to apply
Publisher
for it
Weekly.
6 months in
Hmm.
advance, right? It's 6 months in advance. It costs you money, but they don't charge you until you're accepted for that book of the day. And when you get that, then you should stack some other promos around it, and it really does help, right? But they don't ever email me and say, we saw your book on Amazon and we think it'd be a great book of the day. No, I'm applying for a limited amount of slots
Right.
for that.
Right.
Opposite, it works the opposite way. If a marketing company is outreaching you, or now the other thing that they do is do you want us to build a website for you? Or we can make your author website beautiful and make it rank in SEO and do all these things that are outreaching you. I do some limited website and SEO work, and I have more of that than I want. And so I
Right.
don't even do it all, right? People that specialize in things like that, like they're busy, they do not need to outreach you because, especially in an email or a text message format, that we don't have time for that. We're
Right.
busy. So it's just ah, I just keep going back to that red flag. If they're outreaching you, there's something wrong. Most editors that I know, most people like that we're super busy. We
Yeah.
don't
What's funny
really
is
reach out
we're
to you.
after I publish these videos, like I get tons, and like I realize we don't have a very large audience right now, but like it's funny to me how many times I get contacted a week saying, "Hey, we're going to help you build your YouTube audience." And I'm like going, Troy and I are literally busy. Like YouTube is like this is so our readers and our authors can actually go on here and like pick our brain without having to pick our brain, like because we're already having these
Hmm.
conversations. But it's so funny to me that people are like, yeah. And I'm like thinking, if I need SEO help, I am not going to hire somebody who cold reached out to me.
Oh,
I'm yeah.
I have an example of this, and I'm not going to name names because I don't want to
Okay.
embarrass this person. But so a person that I know, an author that I know, a person reached out to him. Now, first of all, if you're going to Fiverr for things like book trailers and things like
Ooh,
that, what you're going to
careful.
get generally now, especially, is a lot of AI generated stuff and things like
Right.
that, especially if it's cheap. Now,
Yeah.
if you're going
Careful.
to Fiverr, you can find some people that are professionals that are
Right.
going to do things, but it's going to cost you money for something like
Right.
that. Even an
Right.
AI generated trailer that's really good is going to cost you money. Right?
Right.
Because it takes time to edit that and put it together, even if AI generates some great video for you. It's just
Right.
not that simple. I wish it was. It's not, and probably won't be for a long time. Anyway, but this was a few months ago, even before AI video has advanced to what it is now. And this person was outreached through Facebook Messenger, through their author page. Hey, I think your book is really great. I would like to create a book trailer for you. Okay, all right. I will do the whole thing for $50. Oh, that sounds even better. $50 for a 60-second book trailer? That sounds fantastic. The So this person chose to just give it a shot. Just give it a shot, see what this person produces for me. The person said, "Oh yeah, I can do revisions and stuff like that," right? So he gets this book trailer, and it there are scenes in there because I've read the book. So there are scenes in the book. He goes, "What do you think of this book trailer?" There's scenes in that trailer that are not in the book. That's not related to the book, but
Mm,
apparently because of the title of the book, she had put in these war scenes that were like World War II soldiers storming a beach. I'm like, this is sci-fi. None of these battles happen on Earth. It's all in space. Like, what in the hell is this person thinking? You know what I mean? By putting this,
mm,
obviously, it was someone who had maybe read the summary of the book, maybe something like that, but hadn't really put a lot of thought into it. So he's like, can you change and eliminate those scenes? So it comes back, and a couple of those scenes have been eliminated and replaced with other things, but there was still one scene in there of the soldiers on the beach. And I'm like, you're spending all this time going back and forth with a person for $30. I'm like, I could fix this in Camtasia in like 2 minutes.
Right.
Like this is not hard to do,
Right.
but this person is literally just not doing it, and they outreach to you. Like, what is that? Like, what in the world is that? It doesn't make any sense. Well, of
Mm-mm.
course, it doesn't make any sense because that person was not a professional. They were not good at what they were doing. They were not listening to what the author was telling them about what they wanted and what wasn't, even though the author was telling them this is not in the book, it doesn't work, right? They're not doing it, right? But that person got $30 for probably 10, 15 minutes work, you
Right.
know? Well, that's not great pay, but if I can, obviously the person was
If,
from
but if
not
I'm,
from the United States.
but if
You
I'm
know, if
doing,
she's living
yeah,
on $7 a day in some little country, the Philippines or whatever, $30 is actually a pretty big amount of money. And if she does that 20 times a day and gets 20 authors to do it, suddenly
she's
you're
doing
pretty
good.
wealthy, right? Now, and I mean, this it's just one thing, but it's like, why would you go with someone who outreaches to you and then does a terrible job?
Right.
Like, you're not going to go with that person again, but she's counting on the fact you're not going to go with her again. She doesn't care.
Right.
You're just trying to get your money one time. So that's, just be aware of like, and this is someone who's smart, a smart person who knows better. In fact, who just said, hey, I just wanted to give it a try to see what would happen, but knew very well that it might be a very low quality product that came out of that eventually.
Exactly.
But I mean,
Exactly.
if that person's reaching out to you, this is why I offer so much caution with that. Because I see what happens and I'm like, it's costing this person not only money, but their time to try to review this trailer and get this person to fix it. Because most people are just going to say, ah, that's not very good, but it's only $30. And they'll just take it and move on.
Yeah. Or,
Like,
oh,
oh,
like me
ugh.
when I bought my little Halloween decorations a couple years ago and found out that they were completely not what I was buying for $990. Oh, well, I got taken for a ride.
Yeah. And then you're like, yeah, I get taken. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
crap.
I mean, the common there's all kinds of common scams running around, not even that are 100% related to authors, but that people fall
Mhm.
for all the time.
All the
And
time.
it's I mean, it's okay. Stuff happens, but just understand that if you take just that minute and like go, okay, and don't buy things on impulse that are like
Yeah.
marketing things or like trailers or whatever.
And if there's any
Say,
kind of time
okay,
limit,
oh yeah, no, go, I will get back to you in a week.
yeah. Yeah.
And if
The
the
thing
person
is,
is not going to wait for a week,
it's a scam.
eh,
It's a scam. It's a
they're just
scam.
trying to get your money as quickly as possible.
Right, right, right.
So,
So
yeah.
don't act on emotion, use your logic, kind of step away, remove your emotions from the whole equation. Try very, very hard. And if you can't do that, ask somebody like myself or Troy to come in and do it for you. um
Yeah, I'm happy to slam
yeah,
scammers for
I
you if you'd
love
like
I
me to.
love to
Yeah.
yeah, I love to do it. But some other common scams that you can be aware of are these PR packages, like Troy said, like any kind of marketing, because that's the biggest like hot button, right?
Mm.
For authors. But the other one that's really common is awards. I see a lot of
Hmm.
authors, and this is actually, they're not always reaching out to authors. This is actually reversed as well. When you go looking for awards, there are loads and loads and loads of companies out there that say they do book awards, and they are not legitimate. Be very aware that there are a lists of legitimate book awards that you can apply for. All book awards cost money, legit and non-legit, so just be aware of that.
Hmm.
But the more legitimate have kind of a very strict submission process, and I have a vetted list in my Imprint Academy that I give to my clients. But what's really funny about these lists is that they're also given in scammy PR and marketing companies their marketing, like packages that
Hmm.
they'll sell you. So good example is there's a legitimate small press slash indie press that I have worked with that I absolutely love the owner of this company. So I'm not gonna bash it too much, except to say that like he's definitely overcharging. But like, but he has a marketing package that he'll sell his clients for upwards of $15,000 to $20,000. And I was privy to seeing what that marketing package included because the client that I was working with showed me the contract and what was involved, and I broke it down. And one of the things that they did is they didn't apply for this author, but they gave him a list of book awards that he could apply for. And I was like, I will give you that like for free.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, don't pay for that. So just understand and know that like you have to be careful about like what you're going to be paying for. But awards, they don't solicit book authors. They don't reach out to you and say we would love to have you submit your book to our company for a book award. Like legitimate book awards don't do that. So don't don't ever fault for any of those. There's a lot of
Hmm.
vanity presses that will reach out to you with the guise of being traditional publishers, or small presses. Be careful of those. I work with a lawyer here locally that gets a lot of clients that come in with their with contracts that they want them to review, and those contracts are often double dipping from the authors. They'll have an upfront cost as well as a royalty grab and a rights grab. So always have your contracts reviewed by an attorney so you can make sure that you avoid those scammy contracts.
Hmm.
Pay to play podcasts. If you're paying for a podcast, may or may
Yeah,
not
I
be
mean
legitimate.
that's
Be
some of those are
careful.
legit, but you just
But
have to know
go
understand what
down,
you're going to get
yeah,
for
do some
return
research.
on the
Just,
investment.
yeah, do some research.
Most of them won't charge you for appearing on the podcast, but they will have, like if you want to advertise your book on their podcast at the same time, they'll create an ad for you or whatever, and that becomes part of an advertising
Right.
package, something like that. Another super common scam is people that will do things for you. It's like, we will
Mm-hmm.
submit your book to all of these book awards. Well, the problem is, first of all, you can do that yourself
Mm-hmm.
most of the time.
Free.
You can do that
Well,
yourself.
plus the
Um,
plus the fees.
Now, there is a certain amount of time involved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to pay somebody to submit your books to book awards for you, you absolutely can. But I'd highly recommend that you hire a virtual assistant or somebody to do that for you directly, who you
Mm-hmm.
know,
It's cheaper.
because exactly what the company is going to do is they have virtual assistants
Uh-huh.
that are going to be the ones that actually send your book to those things. And that's way cheaper. It's way cheaper for you to just hire a virtual assistant to do that than to hire a company who then hires a virtual assistant. You're one removed, there's one more person taking the piece out of the pie. And generally they're doing it to make you feel good of, hey, we can submit this for you. And somehow you think that if it's submitted by a company on your behalf, that it has more legitimacy than if you submit it yourself on your behalf. But many of the book awards, not all,
They don't
but many
care.
of them are blind submissions.
Yeah, they don't care.
So the blind submission thing is they don't care who it is. They're just looking at the material itself, the book itself, and then they reveal your name to the judges, and then they give you the award. But for the most part, it's a blind thing. They read the book without knowing who you are, if it's a legitimate book award,
Right.
right? So it doesn't matter if it was submitted by Maincrest Media or whatever, whatever particular company, or if it was submitted by Troy Lambert. Either way, the award result is exactly the same. So if people doing things for you, that's fine. Just understand what you're paying for and understand there's no more legitimacy you get from that than doing
Right.
it yourself. You can save yourself some time. Okay. Which is that, and in many cases that's valuable. I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, saying some of those are a straight up scam because they're charging you, like you say, $20,000. I'll give you a list of things you can apply for. Well, first of all, you can find that list all kinds of places. And second of all, you can submit those applications for yourself, and it's not going to cost you $20,000,
Right.
you know? So, yeah, there's
Right.
that aspect as well. So,
Yeah.
just understand that having people do things for you isn't always a scam, but you really need to evaluate whether it's worth it or not. And some of them are just straight up legit a scam. Like they're
Right.
taking your money for doing menial work. They're paying somebody in the Philippines $7 an hour to do it for you, which you can do yourself, and then
Right.
they're charging you $50 an hour. And
I
that's, to
I
me, that's a
should
scam.
yeah,
Straight
to
up
me that's
scam.
a scam. I mean, and like I know the appeal here. I know the appeal. The appeal is that you want to believe that if you're paying this money or you're having some extra help, that you will get better results than if you do this yourself. And the truth of the matter is that the effort the effort that you put in is always going to be far more valuable than the effort of somebody else's work. And the reason is
Hmm.
because I mean even when as much as I love my authors and as much as I personally put my heart and soul into their projects, I'm still, and Troy and I have said this, I'm still not going to love the book and love the project as much as they are. Like they're
Hmm.
still the driving force behind that book. And really, really, in all honesty, I by me going down rabbit holes and doing the research, I'm really the only thing that I have as far as like a leg up is that I know where to look and I don't have to
Hmm.
do a bunch of the extra research and time in in because I have industry knowledge. But really, in all honesty, submitting the book award, you're right, Troy. It doesn't make a difference if I do it or if they do it. They're not getting a leg up. If I place the ad or they place the ad, it doesn't make a difference.
It's
Nobody cares.
exactly the
Nobody,
same.
it's exactly the same. And I can't guarantee the results because I place the ad as opposed to you placing the ad. Like it's just,
Hmm.
you've got to know and understand that the results of marketing and the results of these book awards and the results and all the like the return on your investment is not going to be different because you hired a company for $20,000 to do it.
But let me qualify what you just said, though, about awards. So there are some awards still,
Mm-hmm.
they're becoming few and far between, where you have to be published by a publisher that is on an accepted list to
Right.
apply for those awards.
Right.
So if you are an indie published author, like many of us are,
Mm-hmm.
some awards will not be open to you. Now, that
Right.
is by no means all. In fact, like I say, those are becoming fewer and far between, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
some of them are designed for newbie authors, like writers of the future. So if you have earned above a certain amount of money with your writing, you are ineligible for those awards. I
Right.
cannot submit to writers of the future because I'm not a writer of the future. I'm a writer of the now. I'm
Right.
already have a career.
Right.
That's not fair to those people to be like, yeah, I have 20 years experience. Here's my short story compared to yours that, you just started out.
Right.
Right. But so there are awards that have, what should we call them? Limitations, qualification type things that are
Yeah.
associated with them.
Stipulations. Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
most of the time, those are higher level and actually better awards
Mm-hmm.
than the ones that are just, anybody can submit at any time as long as you pay your entry fee,
Right.
right? That type of thing. So just understand what you're getting into with these things. Like some of these things, like some of them are like borderline, like they're not necessarily a scam,
They're
but
just
you also
not
say,
as,
are they really worth your money and are you going to
yeah.
get your money back? And as far as a is this a business investment that you're going to get a return on your investment? Um, for example, if you're going to go to a writer's retreat somewhere and learn from some writers, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get your money back and that it's worth every penny or whatever. Some of them are. But some of them, you just want a retreat and a time away to do some writing. And so it's worth
Be with
paying
your
for them. They're
people.
not necessarily a
Yeah.
scam. The writer's cruise is not what I would call a scam by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. However, for many writers, I would ask you the question, is it worth it? You know, is it
Yeah.
worth it?
Yeah. And that, yeah, you do that with everything. Do that with everything.
Yeah.
Um, so there you can the way to kind of vet these is to Google them. I mean, that's your first thing.
Hmm.
You can go into like the about um at the bottom of websites, there's usually kind of like you can find like
And about us.
metadata, yeah, and about us, or like you can go down some pretty deep Google holes. You can find out if they're registered with their state as
Hmm.
as a legitimate company. You can check with the BB, the Better Business Bureau. You can check with uh, the Allies self-publishing watchdog list has they
Hmm.
have a list. There used to be some others that were out there that I don't know if they're still as active.
Predators and editors is
Yeah,
not as active as it once was, but it still is, and
right,
people still make reports to them.
right.
And that's a good way to determine if something is a scam or if it is not.
Yeah, I mean,
Like I
if you
say,
look at the
oftentimes you can
company, Google
you know,
their name and then
Google
scam
their
or
name.
complaints or reviews or
Mhm.
any of those kinds of things.
Yeah,
And
reviews. Always look for reviews.
mhm. And don't
Um,
don't go to their website for the reviews. Like look at the website,
mhm.
and make sure that it's an outside source. It's an alternate source. And then you can
Right.
know,
That it's a
um,
reputable source for the review.
right.
It's because it is really hard. Like it's really challenging to um, it's really challenging to figure some of these things out, but a quick Google search will usually reveal enough information that you can make a determination that this is a company you want to be involved in. Is this a company that's
Right.
because you'll see comments on Reddit and Quora and things like that where like you can figure out is this something that's known. Now, if you're on the front end of a brand new scam, you might not find a lot of information. But you could still like deep dive down like I did with that company and say, okay, what building are they actually in LA? What tenants are actually in that building? Oh, you don't actually have an office there. And what I did in that case was emailed back and forth with them a little bit to basically waste some of their time and said, hey, it
Yeah.
doesn't appear that you have an office in this building. What's going on? You know, I
Mhm.
have some questions for you about, this type of thing, or oh, another scam that's not quite as common anymore, but is paying for reviews. And so there are some
Mm.
legitimate sites, Kirkus and stuff like that, where you can pay for reviews. Whether those are worth it or not is an entirely different discussion. But like I just had one on LinkedIn not very long ago. This gal was like, I'd love such and such book of yours, and I'd be really interested in reviewing it. And I said, that sounds great. This is how I respond to those every time. That sounds great. I can send you an EPUB or a MOBI file format that you're welcome to use to write a review. And immediately the answer that came back is, well, I charge $30 per review. And I just simply say, I don't pay for reviews.
Yep.
Sorry.
Oh,
Best of
also,
luck.
just FYI, just so you know, if you have paid for a review or you pay for that review and they leave a review on Amazon and Amazon finds out that you paid for that review, it can get you banned.
Hmm.
So
It
paid
can.
reviews, yeah, paid reviews are not the great unless you're getting them from legitimate literary literary reviews like
Through
Kirkus, or
NetGalley,
or
through
pre yeah,
NetGalley,
publish
Kirkus,
yeah,
Publishers Weekly,
Publishers Weekly,
um,
things like that.
there's a few
Then
others.
there's a way to publish those. They don't do it through Amazon, buyers
No,
reviews. you're
those are
you're
called editorial
they're called
reviews.
editorial
And
reviews, and they cost a pretty penny, but and I wouldn't, I mean, case by case basis, I wouldn't always say that they're the best investment, but I will say that they're not the same as these $30 reviews, and they're not worth the $30 reviews are not worth it.
yeah,
They're not worth it.
well, yeah, the book talker phenomenon is another thing too, where people be like, I have a great book talk following, and I will put you on my book talk thing. And
Hmm.
sometimes those are worth it, sometimes they're not. The part of the key is, again, if they're outreaching to you, there's kind of a red flag because most of the book talkers get so many book submissions, they have to pick and choose what they read and what they put on their book talk. And so they're not out there looking actively for books to read. And even if they are charging, it's through a much more legitimate system like an influencer marketing type thing. Um, because they're monetizing their TikTok, they're doing all kinds of stuff, right?
Right.
So they don't really need a lot of money from you, because they're building it on their fame and they're being well known.
Right.
So, but that's another common one. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. Look very carefully at who the person is, how many views and clicks there actually are on their TikTok videos, and what that might translate to for book sales. Sometimes, hey, you want a quick boost, a book talk can be a good deal, but other times it's not necessarily a good deal. So just understand what you're looking at there. But most of the times they're outreaching you and they're charging you some piddly amount, like $30. Well, I know that a $30 review is, first of all, I don't want you to put it on Amazon anywhere ever. And I know that it's probably not worth it. And it's probably not going to influence my book sales in any way in the least. So it's not worth paying for. Anyway, and so most of the time that's a scam. That person's trying to get your book for free and $30.
Yeah.
So which seems like a pretty good deal to me. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, so just be careful. Um, so ways to protect your info. Let's just talk about that really quick before we close today. I want to make sure that people understand that there are ways to do this. Balance is key. So remember that you're building a brand and you're trying to maintain an open relationship and dialogue with your readers, but you want to do that in the most professional and like I said, kind of careful way. So use contact forms to interact with people.
Hmm.
Create a web email address that is linked to your domain. Don't use a personal
Hmm.
Gmail address, or create a separate Gmail address if you have to do it that way. But like, just separate your personal from your author business. Create a, a
Hmm.
a border between the two so that you can protect one from the other. You can use a PO box for your address, or get a virtual
Hmm.
physical address or virtual address listing. So that's a way to protect kind of like your home address. Avoid posting your full legal name and your full birthday and your to social bios. Like, keep that information away from those kinds of things that it's just going to
Hmm.
be really easy in public. And then when people are opting into your newsletters or they're wanting to contact you, use double opt-in, boxes, check boxes, and permissions.
Yeah.
Um,
Do reCAPTCHA and double
yeah,
opt-in. It's it's more of a pain, but first of all, it keeps your email list clean. If people are signing up for your email, and it ensures you that this is a real person, not a bot.
right,
So,
right. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's just, it prevents kind of some of that and those initial, like spammy things. I will say this, my reCAPTCHA alone, it stops. I think I get hit, and I don't ever see them in my box. Like, I don't get these emails collected on my email collector or anything like that, because they get blocked by that. But there's about 6,000 a day that I get hit with. It's insane how many, and I
hmm.
am not even popular. So I can't imagine not having that. So just, it's always best to kind of put those protections up, to keep you from getting hit with those spammy things. You want to be available, but not overexposed. And you want to make sure that you
Hmm.
train yourself and go down those Google rabbit holes in order to recognize those red flags that Troy and I have mentioned. Just just know and be aware that you're not alone when it comes to being, your ego being kind of like vulnerable. We all emotionally get excited when somebody says they like us, and it's really, really easy for us to get flattered and think that somebody else
Hmm.
likes what we did. And so don't kick yourself in the butt or get down on yourself because you found out that they were, not legitimate, and now you feel like the bottom of the barrel. Don't be afraid to pick yourself back up and go, wait a minute, like every one of us goes through this. We all have this emotional tie to our stuff, and it's really easy for people to prey on that. So don't panic,
Yeah.
and don't don't get don't get down on yourself. But it's okay to block
Yeah.
people. It's okay to report people. It's okay to check on people. You can contact people like Troy and I to help you. And again, the Alliance for Independent Authors is
Yeah.
also a great resource. Um, but if you've
Well,
been taken for a ride, and if you've paid somebody and you feel like it's a scam, contact your bank, contact the Better Business Bureau, contact the FTC. Um, do what you need to do to recover as much as you can, but you know just understand and know that
yeah.
we've all been there. we've all we've all been
Yeah.
there.
And the other thing, I mean, there's just some common sense things that I'll just throw out there and probably what you're just going to roll your eyes. But I mean, don't give people your credit card information over the phone unless
Right.
it's a known entity. The majority of people are not going to ask you for your credit card information over the phone. They're going to have a secure web portal for it. Don't pay people in crypto and Bitcoin and things
Yeah.
like that, or with iTunes gift cards. Or whatever the case may be, some weird
Yeah.
form of payment. If it sounds like that's crazy, don't pay people. It's normal for people to have a deposit if you're paying for services. Like Stacey and I, often we have 50% deposit, then the rest of it
Mm-hmm.
is due upon completion or whatever the case may be. That's fairly normal. Don't pay for all of the work up front. That's generally a bad idea for us. It's a bad idea for us to allow you to just bill for work at the end of the project.
Right.
Then we get ripped off. There are people that try to scam us as well. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
try to avoid that. But yeah, so people getting a deposit is one thing. Charging you up front completely for everything is not normal. It's
No.
usually something on completion. Just some common sense things like that. Don't give people your bank information. Don't give them your social security information unless it's a known entity that you trust 100%. Be sure,
Mm-hmm.
verify everything before you do anything like that. It's extremely challenging for you to get money back in some circumstances if you've given them your information voluntarily.
Right.
So
Yeah. So
just be careful with things like that. Use common sense when it comes to things like that. And if you have questions, stop. If it even feels a little wrong, stop. Stop what you're doing. Get some help. Get some information. If it's a legitimate company, they will help you walk through that process.
yeah,
They really
they'll
will.
do what
You
they'll
know.
do what they can to ensure that you're not, that you understand what's going on. And they're gonna be willing to work with you. So remember,
Hmm.
you're the boss of your author career. You're investing in a business. You're not buying a lottery ticket here. You're investing in a
Yep.
business. And so you need to treat it that way. So be careful with your money, be careful with your information, and just do your homework. Don't be afraid to take the time to do the homework. But if you ever need help, you can always reach out to Troy at The Plot Abides, and you can reach out at me at printtopro.com. We're happy to help you. Again, you guys, we would love to hear from you. Like, subscribe, and get notified when we drop new episodes. We drop a new episode every Saturday, and we're looking for having the conversations that will help you. And that's why we have these conversations and record them, is because we're talking to the author, and we're hopefully talking to things that you guys have questions about. But this was definitely one of those always coming up, always with our authors, is like, oh, why are these people contacting me? So we hope this was
Yeah.
helpful. We hope this was helpful. But anyway,
Yep.
so let us know. We're excited. We are in talks with Johnny Truant, right? So I'm excited about bringing him on.
Yeah, I would say in the next week or two, just depends on how far you gotten through the book
Yeah,
pretty
I've
far yet,
I've
or
started it.
oh, good, good.
Yeah. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah, I'm
I'm
really excited
excited.
about that. So within the next couple of weeks, we'll have Johnny on and talk about his upcoming book. It's not available yet, but we'll talk
Yeah,
about
we'll
that.
talk
He's going
about
to
it.
be running a Kickstarter and stuff like that. And this is, I will tell you from personal experience that this is a mindset changing and game changing thought process, and it's not a process that works for everyone. But if you can look at different approaches to the writing career, this is one of the ones that I tell people, man, especially in the age of AI and stuff like that, maybe you want to slow down and look at something like this and see if it
Yeah.
works for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
for
it's
sure.
it's definitely the be mindful approach, and I really like that. Because I mean, just like what we were talking about today, it's like just making sure that you take the time that you need to make this a meaningful journey, not just a
Yeah.
throwaway thing. So, because that just does not work, in my opinion. But
Yeah.
for what it's worth.
You do. You
Anyway,
do you. You do
yeah,
you.
you
Yeah.
do you. Anyway, so thanks for joining us for this Pros Talking Pros, and we will talk to you guys all next week. Keep your pens moving, and just we look forward to seeing you guys again. Thanks.
See you next time. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.